Today, I wanted to address with you the paradox of the word mindfulness, which has become very popular now. It's a meme. Mindfulness is considered a meme. So, I want to just clarify what it really is, because I don't think mindfulness is the right word, but it's there. It's part of our culture, so we have to accept it. But mindfulness, at its core, is a practice rooted in the art of bringing presence to every experience without judgment. It is an act of observing one's thoughts, emotions, sensations without judgment or attachment. So, paradoxically, actually, mindfulness is a practice that requires us to actually bypass the mind. So, mindfulness, paradoxically, is a practice that transcends habitual mental activity. Transcends. I wouldn't say bypass. It means letting go of interpretation, analysis, and distraction to embrace presence in every experience. So, it is often misunderstood as an act of intense concentration or mental effort. But that's not what it is. In fact, concentration is the very opposite of mindfulness. The essence lies in simplicity and receptivity. It is not about controlling thoughts or forcing stillness. If you control a thought, that's a thought. Or if you force stillness, that's also a thought. But the practice is ultimately being aware. So actually, awarefulness would be a better word than mindfulness, but it's clumsy. In English, awarefulness sounds clumsy. In Sanskrit, the word is vipassana, which means insight meditation. So once again, mindfulness is not about controlling thoughts or forcing stillness, but about allowing experience to unfold naturally without interference. So mindfulness invites us to step back from the mind's tendency to label, categorize, interpret every moment. In a way, it's observing raw experience, because as soon as you interpret the experience, whether it's philosophically, scientifically, or through your personal story, then it's not real fundamental experience. It's an interpretation of experience, which means it's a mental construct. So instead of engaging in habitual mental chatter, in the practice of mindfulness, we observe experiences as they are, raw, unfiltered, and immediate. So this practice is originally from ancient contemplative traditions, particularly Buddhism, where vipassana or sati is a foundational principle. In modern psychology, mindfulness has been embraced as a tool for reducing stress and enhancing well-being. Yet at its heart, mindfulness is not merely a technique. It is a way of being that challenges our default mode of operating on autopilot. So it helps you get out of the robotic behavior that we all have. Because by and large, humans behave as biological robots. So that's the paradox. The paradox of mindfulness lies in the fact that it requires us to actually observe our mind and not use our mind to overcome the very habits and patterns that define them. The human mind is inherently active. It interprets, judges, plans, remembers, And these functions are essential, of course, for survival and problem solving, but they interfere with our ability to find truth, to find the truth of reality. So when we are caught up in ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, we lose touch with what we call reality, which is this experience right now, including the experience of your body, which is part of the objective universe. Even your mind is part of the objective universe. So mindfulness asks us to do something counterintuitive, to stop engaging with these mental processes and instead become aware of them. That's why I thought awarefulness was a good word. This involves a shift from thinking about experiences to simply being with them and realizing that the awareness of a mental experience is not the mind. The awareness of the mind is not the mind. So mindfulness actually gets you to the core of your being, consciousness, which is not only personal, but universal, but on a practical level. Rather than analyzing why we feel anxious or trying to suppress anxiety, mindfulness invites us to notice the physical sensations and emotional qualities of anxiety without judgment. In doing so, we create space for acceptance, clarity, and a connection to fundamental reality, the self of the individual, which is also the sense and self of the universe. And the simplest way to define it is presence. So you bring presence to every experience without interpretation. This means approaching each moment with openness and curiosity rather than imposing preconceived notions or judgments. Okay, so for example, when eating mindfully, one might focus on the texture, the taste, aroma of food without labeling it as good or bad. And similarly, when practicing mindful walking, one might notice the sensation of each step without being distracted by thoughts or about where they are going or where they came from. This non-interpretive presence can be profoundly liberating. It allows us to see things as they are truly, rather than through the lens of our biases and interpretations. And so by letting go of interpretations, we free ourselves from the unnecessary mental interpretation that is going on all the time, the mental clutter that actually takes us away from fundamental reality. This practice challenges deeply ingrained habits because the mind is conditioned to seek meaning and impose narratives on our experiences. Letting go of these tendencies requires patience and persistence, but ultimately brings about freedom and even enlightenment. So I hope this clarifies some misconceptions about what we call mindfulness. Take care.